This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte confirms that his BPI accounts do exist but stressed that the amounts are less than 211 million pesos. The mayor did not want to further give the specific amounts but clarified that the money is not ill-gotten. The mayor reiterated that he was never involved in any corrupt doings ever since he was mayor. Duterte continued to say that everything Senator Antonio Trillanes said against him is not true. The mayor also added that he also just might look for loopholes on Trillanes but did not confirm if he will use it against the senator.
I can explain very well, legit explanation, but hindi naman ganun kalaki. And kasi uwi ako ng Davao Monday, sabi kasi ni Trillanes, nandoon siya, I requested mas mabuti daw yung abogado appear sa akin kasi he can explain coolly, hindi naman siya kasanay, but a little less than 200 million, hindi naman ganun kalaki.
For G
Which is not.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Conana. Now, in this show, we talk about everything under the sun, and tonight is about politics. You know, folks, tonight is probably the most important episode in my 5-year stint here in Philippines Uncut because tomorrow is Election Day, and we Filipinos will once again troop to the polls to elect our highest national leaders. And I hope that all of you who are still undecided or who are perhaps reviewing your decision tomorrow will stick around for the next 50 minutes as we discuss the issues and in the hope that we can enlighten you about the issues at hand. And joining me are two very important guests and very esteemed in their fields. On my right is Professor Antonio Contreras, Professor of Political Science at De La Salle University. Yes. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening, buddy.
Thank you for coming to the show. And joining him is Ms. Elizabeth Angshoko, and she is with the Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines. Ms. Angshoko, welcome to Philippines Uncut.
Thank you, buddy. Good evening, Prof.
Yes, so pleasure to have you guys here. Actually, I've been wanting to have you guys on the show for the longest time. It's very hard to corral you guys because you guys are so busy. Always all around the place, especially Prof. And
I was busy doing something very important.
Okay, so, I mean, for the people who are just meeting you guys now, let's have some introductions. Ladies first.
Yeah, I actually work in relation with women's rights. So we do advocacy, we do community-based education and programs. At the same time, I write a regular column in one of the newspapers.
What is this Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines? What is it all about?
It's a national federation of women's organizations on the ground, communities. That's why when you say that I'm all over, yes, I am all over. I go here, I go there, because we run programs for community women. And therefore, our advocacies are basically the advocacies of the women on the ground, you know, their rights, livelihood, participation in decision-making, reproductive health, and poverty, of course.
Wow, so it really it's about empowerment, knowledge, empowerment, and all that.
It is about empowerment of women.
How big is your organization? How extensive is your reach?
We're in 13 of the 16 regions, and we have, our total membership is 267 chapter organizations, numbering to about around 40,000 individual women.
Very good, very good. Prof, how about you?
Well, I'm a professor at the Department of Political Science at De La Salle University. I teach political theory and methodology, and I also teach environment and politics, science, technology, and society and politics, and what I call the politics of everyday lives. At the same time, you know, a disclosure, probably, you know, people should know that I'm one of those who originally petitioned against Senator Poe de Comelec.
On the issue of her
qualifications. I think that should be already disclosed.
Sure.
For purposes of transparency.
Sure. Very good.
I'm very active cyber citizen. I regularly post in Facebook, usually Facebook, not Twitter, but sometimes Twitter, my thoughts about politics in the country. And I think the reason why I do that is because I think it's through the Facebook that I can communicate to a larger audience beyond my students.
How long have you been a professor of political science?
Well, I was with LaSalle since 2001. But before that, I was with the College of Forestry and Natural Resources of UP Los Baños since 1982.
Ah, okay.
Because my undergraduate is forestry.
Bravo.
But I became a political scientist later.
So you also have, I assume, a lot of heart when it comes to environment, protection, all that. Absolutely,
yeah. Environment and development.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, guys, let's talk about the topic tonight. Elections 2016. What is your assessment of what's going on? I mean, you know, this is a very polarizing campaign, election season. I mean, you know, a lot of divisiveness, a lot of angst, a lot of anger. Listen,
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that in my lifetime, and it's not a short lifetime, so far this has been the most difficult and the most divisive elections that I've seen. Comparing this with 2010, for instance, people, I didn't go for the present president. I was for another candidate, but I never felt threatened. I never felt as angry as I feel now because of what's happening. And I have never been troubled for my family and for my grandchildren. It's not the same as before. For instance, before you would not think that something bad, terribly bad, could happen after the elections. But it's very different now. You know, we Filipinos, we want to look up to people. We idolize people, but at the same time, there is that there is always that belief that whoever you idolize is the one who's going to bring you to wherever you want to be, and that's just wrong. You know, so this election, we see a lot of that, and we see a lot of hoping, a lot of putting our lives, how do you call this? Idinidepende natin yung buhay natin sa iisang tao.
There you go.
Not
Prof?
I agree that this is the most divisive election. I am 55 years old, and I've lived in this country for 55 years. And I lived through martial law, and or at least my early childhood was during that period. And I think this is I would say that I joined rallies in the past when I was a student, but I've never been threatened, even if it is a time of dictatorship. But this is a time where speaking up and saying something would really be dangerous. Maybe that is because it's just a reflection of how passionate people are, how polarized positions are.
Yes.
But this is also something probably that it's because of the issues, also of the personalities involved. Because any election is divisive.
Yes.
Any election is about debates. About
By its nature,
differences.
it is divisive,
It
yes.
is divisive,
Yes.
and yet it is only now that people are really being physically threatened. Their securities are being, you get private messages and SMS messages that you are next to be killed, or somebody from place is already sent to exterminate you. These are things that are quite very, very difficult.
Let's have it out in the open. Where are these coming from? From which camp? Let's have it.
They come from the Duterte camp.
camp
I'm not saying
of
that it is
Mayor
from
Rodrigo
the mayor
Duterte.
himself,
Yeah.
but it's coming from the voters that are sympathetic to Duterte. Although I would also be open to the possibility that, the excuse, maybe it comes from those who are against Duterte and they're just pretending to sort of put him in a bad spot.
Make him look bad,
Make him
perhaps.
look bad. So
Yeah.
I'm opening the possibility that perhaps it could also happen. You just don't know. But at least what is coming from at least what I get is that these are coming from people who are identified or are confessed that they are.
And you know what's strange is that I've been hearing the same stories, and even personal friends of mine. I mean, this is coming from people you wouldn't even expect to be talking like this.
Well, I've had.
What is the matter,
I've
Ms.
had
Angshoko?
reasons.
Yeah.
I've had messages similar to this. Actually, especially after having very vocally against what Duterte said, how Duterte joked about the Australian missionary about that rape, quote unquote.
About how he should have been first
Yeah,
in line in
about
raping
how
this poor
the
woman.
mayor should have been first. And that's when I started receiving threats of rape, things like this. But then I think we also have to look into this thing as a result of how Duterte, this candidate, affects the mindset or the mentality of his followers. It's as if he is giving them reason to think that
it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay to rape. It's okay to kiss women left and right. It's okay to womanize. It's okay to do these things. And that's very dangerous. I've been fighting for women's rights for 30 years, and I don't want our work to be to be threatened by just one person.
And it's very dangerous because, as I've said, he brings the worst in us. People who are supposed to be decent, people who are supposed to be educated, could even justify. In fact, that is really what's bothering me. Whether it is coming from genuine Duterte supporters, or whether it is just coming from people who are against him and then trying to paint him in a bad spot. Nevertheless, it's still an effect of a candidacy that brings out the worst in people.
And Prof, I've also seen this around social media. People who are church-going, perhaps, who have, you'd expect this kind of reaction from the mob, the great unwashed, as they say, as they call the masa. But surprisingly, a lot of AB and coming from the AB sector are like this.
He's leading the ABC.
Why do you think it doesn't make sense? Traditionally it would not make sense. But can you explain this,
Well,
Prof?
for me, Jessica Safra, wrote something about this, which I also was thinking about, that maybe Duterte represents our collective id, our desires, our fetish, the things that we want to do, we fantasize of doing, except that we are so decent that we don't want to do. Many men would probably want to go to kiss women, just, many men would like to rape, but they could not do that because it's not proper.
There are consequences. There are real life consequences.
Many people would like to curse in public, but they don't want to do it because it's going to be bad. And then they found this candidate who does everything that they would not do but secretly wish to do. So I think that's more of, it's in the collective psyche. I know that has to be proven, but for me, I think that's the reason why people gravitate towards him. It's also a sense of anger at the system. People are just angry at the failures of the system.
Yeah.
The failure of the last 6 years.
I would add to that, because
Please.
initially I'm very sure that people got very angry because of the kind of life that we live now. Spending 4 to 5 hours in traffic every day, that's just not human at all. People get angry because despite the very rosy proclamations of how good the economy is doing, you go to the communities and you see very difficult lives of people who have to work very hard every day just to be able to put food on their table. This is not the kind of life that our people want. As far as the anger is concerned, I think initially the rise of Duterte was because of the people's anger in relation with the present system, the present administration. But sustaining that interest in Duterte, I think, is also because of how the handlers of Duterte were giving it to people.
Yes, it was a product. It was a product that they were marketing.
I was in Dagupan during for the last debate, and we were wondering, all these beautiful cars, all these luxury cars, have Duterte stickers on their cars, and we said, these are not your ordinary OFWs. These are not your ordinary rich people. These are real rich people. And then not realized, but I came into thinking that these are the people who have interests to protect, and perhaps they think that their businesses would even be safer, that their livelihood would be protected by this kind of a leader.
And there lies the irony, because this man, from what he's been saying, out of his own mouth,
Yeah.
I mean, he appeared before the Makati Business Club a week ago or about 10 days ago, and it was a disaster. because he had no economic policy to speak of, no plan for investment, no plan for business, nothing.
And you know, also, if I don't know whether you've seen the video where he was chatting with Joe Maciso.
Of course.
And he was saying about the elites. He's blaming the elites. This is more like of a class war. And so that also is an issue that maybe the ABC crowd should also, particularly the elites,
Yes.
should realize. So it's like there is a cognitive dissonance there. That you're,
Good.
you're supporting
Good
you're
term.
supporting a candidate that is going to be attacking your class.
Cognitive
Because
dissonance.
at the same time, you think he's going to protect your
He's going to be
safety.
your enemy.
He's going to protect your safety, but at the same time, he's going to attack your interest.
Why
So-
isn't this sinking into people's heads? Because, you know, I mean, you're talking to me now, and you drop this big word, cognitive dissonance, and it makes sense to me.
Well, I'm going to hypothesize. I think they think that Duterte is not serious about what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's just a brand. And then, you know, let's get him elected using this brand, and then when he gets elected, he's going to he's going to deal with the reality. And that's what I'm kind of afraid of.
That's a dangerous game.
Because he created this monster of a core that demands extremism from him.
Yeah.
And then if he's not going to deliver, then the very first enemy that will attack him will not be the critics, but it will be his core, who will have that sense of betrayal. So because if it's true, because that it's just selling a brand, it's his brand. And I've been told by my friends from Davao, you know, when I told them I'm getting death threats, they said, oh, don't take that seriously. It's just hot air, you know. He's just joking. He know that when he's joking. So he said, you know, if it's your problem if you're going to take him seriously. So if that is the case, maybe we know this interest, this these elites know probably that maybe it's not just. It's just a brand he's selling.
Mr. Shoka?
Yeah, I think we have to really be serious about this thing because the presidency is not a joke.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's good to laugh, it's good to hear jokes, but at the same time, you have to be very serious when it comes to the presidency. I am disturbed by people who actually say that he's not going to do that, you know, he's just like that. But, you know, when you piece off, for instance, our allies at the international level. What does this say about our country? I mean, telling the Australian ambassador to get out if you don't want, and if you don't want it here, and the U.S. ambassador also, and putting to shame somewhat the Indian ambassador as well as the Mexican ambassador. You know, these are very serious things.
And burning the Singaporean flag.
Yeah, and we cannot afford somebody who would do these things when if he becomes president. For instance, the way he jokes about women, I mean, that's simply unacceptable. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, we have fought many years, so our rights are there and respected. And now you're going to tell everybody that it's so right to rape women? This is ridiculous.
It's appalling. It's appalling.
Yeah,
I don't believe that he's just joking. I think that he is being completely honest about who he is.
That's the problem.
About how he is going to do things, and that is a big problem.
Yeah, that's
we
the problem.
cannot claim that we didn't know.
Alam nyo, may kasabihan sa Pilipino nasa huli ang pagsisisi. Right, Prof?
Yeah, let me make a confession.
Please.
Actually, at the beginning of this campaign, I was even thinking of considering him. In fact, it was a choice between him and who I'm going to vote for. And then the turning point was joke, rape joke. I said, this is too much. I told a friend who is, campaigning for him. I said, I'm not going to vote for him anymore. In fact, he's the least. I'd rather vote for Poe, who I filed a complaint.
Yes,
If it's a choice between Poe and her and him, I will just vote for Poe. I can tolerate Poe, despite the fact that for me she lacks these qualifications. I said, this is too much. I was already hurt by the fact that she was making fun of gays because I have a gay son. For me, that's already but they said maybe it's just joking. It's very easy in our culture to make jokes of gays. And my son told me it's just, it's
par for the course.
Part of.
Yeah.
But when he made a joke of a rape victim was murdered, that's not part of our culture.
Yes, yes.
You know, you could not justify that.
And, you know,
we make jokes of gay people, even if it's unacceptable.
Yes, yes.
You know, we do that. But
Yeah.
in our culture, it is unnatural to make fun of a dead woman.
And rape. I mean, this is just a whole different level on its own.
So
Absolutely.
for me, it's something that is, I said, this is too much. This crossed the line.
Guys, we have to pause for a break, but we'll come back. And guys, stick around because more of Election 2016 when Philippines Uncut returns. And